Distributors, the feeling with Coca-Cola, Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury, and JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066. And Cayman Airways, call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And now, Barbados. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Coming to you live from Radio Cayman Studio.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you. For the record. Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
For the record.
For the record. For the record. Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees, so fair. Today is Monday, the 6th day of November 2023, right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. We hope and we trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable weekend. Although we know that there was quite a bit of activities taking place in the Cayman Islands on the weekend. Some good, some not so good as well. We continue to see a number of robberies, attempted robberies, shootings in the Cayman Islands, folks. All of that is inevitable when you have rapid pace of development, when you have a rapid population growth, when you have a huge gap between the haves and the have-nots and the think they haves as well. So unless we get a grip of this situation in the Cayman Islands and decide where we want to go, how we're going to get there, and how long it's going to take, we're going to continue to experience these problems in the Cayman Islands. So while we hope that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable weekend, we know simply that some people did not as well. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, we urge you to please, please, please be extremely cautious, whether you're a pedestrian, a cyclist, or if you're operating any type of motorized vehicle. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road. Remember, the life you save may be your own. Remember also that our youngsters, our future, they are on the roads of the Cayman Islands. They're either walking to school, biking to school, on a school bus, or in a vehicle with a parent or a guardian or a neighbor. Please be cautious. Don't be reckless. Not only will you save the lives of those around you, but the life you save may also be your own. For those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, we want to wish you a happy birthday, or if you've celebrated one over the past few days, a belated happy birthday to you as well. And to remind you that For the Record birthday shout-outs brought to you by Pizza Boat. They are now open in Queens Court on West Bay Road. We urge you to hop on board the Pizza Boat Express, because Pizza Boat, they make pizza even more fun. You can pick your pizza up or have it delivered. Simply call 949-0000 or order online via www.pizzaboat.ky. For those of you who have lost loved ones, again, we want to extend our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these extremely challenging times, and that the memories of your loved ones will continue to be a blessing to you. Those of you who are ill and are either at home or at a medical facility here in the Cayman Islands or overseas, we wish you a speedy recovery. So, folks, I want to thank you for allowing Radio Cayman and, by extension, For the Record, into your homes, into your vehicles as you traverse the busy roads of the Cayman Islands, into your places of work, wherever that may be. As you know, For the Record is a show produced by the staff and management of Radio Cayman, and it is geared towards keeping you abreast of issues as they arise and play out on the local, regional, and international scene. I am your host, Orrett Connor, and you're welcome to join me every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. During that period, our phone lines are open. Those numbers that are operational: 949-6990, 949-8037, WhatsApp number 925-3261. And of course, we have that beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson waiting to take your calls as well. We may have a guest in the studio later on. We wait and see what occurs. Meanwhile, our phone lines are open for you to call in. But before you call in, we want to do some birthday shout-outs today as well. So let's see what we have on Facebook first. Well, no, I'm going to start with the belated happy birthday greetings. Mr. Butch Miles, Courtney Miles, celebrated his birthday last week, Tuesday, I believe it was, and we weren't aware of his birthday, so we want to wish Mr. Courtney Miles, also known as Butch, belated happy birthday to him. Also, we see celebrating a birthday today is Josephine Medina, the one and only Craig Marin, also celebrating his birthday today. Del celebrating her birthday. Miss Sherry Ann Smith celebrating her birthday today as well. We also have Oma Ebanks. Orma, sorry. My apologies. Orma Ebanks celebrating a birthday today. Laurel McLaughlin celebrating a birthday today as well. Do we have any more here? We're going to make sure we check all of them to ensure we don't miss any. Tomorrow we know that Miss Georgette Watson, she will be celebrating her birthday tomorrow. Sherilyn Ebanks also celebrating a birthday tomorrow, and Neil Mattel also celebrating a birthday tomorrow. If you know someone who's celebrating a birthday or maybe an anniversary or something, just pass that information all on to us, and we will give them a shout out. That number that you can WhatsApp the details, 925-3261, can be done as well. Also, we see the granddaughter of Mr. James Ryan, Abigail. She is 11 years of age today, and birthday greetings are coming from Mr. James Ryan and his family, Mrs. Ryan, and the rest of the family, wishing their granddaughter Abigail, who's 11 years old today, a happy birthday as well. Looking for more. If you have them, we will certainly give them a big shout out this morning. So big. The one and only Craig Marin celebrating his birthday today as well. And like I said earlier, Miss Sherry Ann Smith celebrating her birthday. And tomorrow we have tomorrow we have Georgette Watson and Sherilyn Ebanks celebrating their birthday tomorrow. Again, folks, want to remind you that these For the Record birthday shout-outs brought to you by Pizza Boat. They are now open in Queens Court on West Bay Road. We urge you to hop on board the Pizza Boat Express, because Pizza Boat, they make pizza even more fun. You can pick your pizza up or have it delivered. Simply call 949-0000 or order online via www.pizzaboat.ky. Let's see some of the notifications that we can share with you today as well. This is a good one coming, and we hope it reaches here for the Christmas as well. This is a press release from Customs and Border Control. They're talking about their online payments for single declaration imports that will be launched soon. So it says, for the past few years, the Cayman Islands Customs and Border Control Service has embarked on streamlining its processes using technology to better serve its stakeholders while maximizing customer experience. The CBC online system, known as COLS, C-O-L-S, will undergo the necessary testing stages, and beginning Monday the 6th of November, that is today, the facility to allow importers and traders to pay online for single declarations with a maximum payment of 2,500 CI dollars will be launched. So let me just read that part again. So it says that the CBC online system, known as COLS, will undergo the necessary testing stages, and beginning Monday the 6th of November, the facility will allow. So it's actually today it goes live. The facility will allow importers and traders to pay online for single declarations with a maximum payment of 2,500 CI dollars will be launched. Deputy Director of Imports, Mr. Kevin Walton, is quoted as saying, "We are currently in the final testing stages of this new product and are confident that this offering is aligned with CBC's strategic objective of strengthening and improving our business processes. The ability to pay duty online will offer our customers greater efficiency and more convenience in using our services." That's the head of finance, Mrs. Camille Beckford Johnson, is quoted as saying. While the maximum dollar amount for a single payment is limited to $2,500, the department continues to offer other payment methods for larger traders that are registered with us and have signed up for our bond facility. We will continue to facilitate trade and improve our offerings to the public. However, we are mindful of the significant bank charges associated with online payments, as CBC is poised to collect over $300 million in revenue this fiscal year. On the 6th of November, for some importers, the access to pay online will appear on your COLS account, and a button called Make a Payment will appear on the View Declaration and View Historical Declaration screen. When this option becomes available, you can select a declaration that is awaiting payment status and make payment for that specific declaration. A payment receipt will be emailed to the email address provided when registered to have a COLS account. A release notice will then be available for viewing and printing. It is important to know that the release notice does not exempt the goods selected for random inspection. So please note that. Single declarations online payment is the first phase of this facility and will advance to multiple declaration payments in the next phase of CBC's technology advancement. As we transition to our new banking service, the limit will also be revisited to better serve our stakeholders. And just one comment before that, if you as far as debit cards are concerned, we know that sometimes some financial institutions will limit the amount that you can use on a debit card as well. So I hope that they have been able to navigate that obstacle as well. We have a caller on hold. We're going to go to a commercial break. As soon as we return, we will take that caller. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, He hath founded it upon the seas.
George Wellenward Bodden.
1924 to 1993.
George W. Bodden, son of Bluja and Toslin Bodden, was educated at the one-room schoolhouse in East End. In 1942, he joined the Military Defense Force of the Jamaica Home Guard, in which he became a non-commissioned officer. He married Aloda Rankin, with whom he had 2 children. He became a seaman in 1946, and from 1948 to 1967, he worked for national bulk carriers. When he retired from sea, his engineering experience earned him a supervisory position with a local construction company that erected Cayman's first steel building. During the construction of Owen Roberts Airfield, Mr. Bodden was a supervisor with the contractors. He served East End as mailman, shoemaker, scoutmaster, and organist, and built the first upstairs movie theater. He was the first in East End to use electricity in his home, and later owned the district's first satellite dish. He was the United Church's full-time organist. George W. Bodden was a trustee for the International College of the Cayman Islands from 1976 until his death.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Rotary Central Music Extravaganza tickets are red hot and moving. Somebody's going to win, and why not you? Get your tickets now through Rotary Central members, Rotary Central ticket sellers, online at eventpro.ky, A.L. Thompson's Home Depot, Funky Tangs on Shedden Road, Rotarian Annie Rose Scott next to Rubis in West End, Cayman Brac. Grand prize $40,000, second prize $4,000, and 6 $1,000 prizes. The event day is Saturday, November 25th at Salty's in Grand Harbor, Red Bay. Your $25 ticket can win Rotary Central Music Extravaganza, a major fundraiser taking care of community projects by Rotary Central. Rotary Central, NPO number 232, creating hope in Cayman and the world.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Brandsour's Home Gallery 54th birthday celebration with store-wide savings. Save on appliances, faucets, tubs, toilets, shower doors, vanities, kitchen cabinets, custom closets, and more. Starting Monday, November 6th, save 30%. Monday, November 13th, the savings will drop to 20%. And Monday, November 20th, they will drop to 10%. It pays to shop early and save more. Brandsour's Home Gallery 54th birthday celebration savings on now through November 25th. Dorsey Drive Industrial Park. Call 623-5000 for more details.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you heard the news? Digicel is back with exciting offers that are too good to resist. Activate one of our brand new prepaid or postpaid plans today and experience telecommunications like never before. With more data, dedicated entertainment options like Netflix, YouTube, Spotify, and endless social text data for all your favorite platforms. Digicel is here to make sure you stay connected and entertained. Whether you are on a prepaid or postpaid, you will also enjoy dedicated roaming data for the USA, Canada, and the Caribbean. It's all about value, and Digicel has got you covered.
It's party season, which means it's pizza boat season. Aren't you tired of the same boring pizza? It's time to party. All aboard the pizza boat. Birthday parties, holiday functions, office luncheons, game nights. Whatever your occasion, bring the fun with Pizza Boat, a Cayman twist to pizza. Bringing fusion ingredients from all over the globe to give you locally inspired fresh pizzas. All day, every day. What's more, now you can enjoy a boat-shaped pizza with toppings of your choice. It's Pizza Boat. Pizza Boat in Queens Court on West Bay Road. Open daily from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. and Fridays until 3 a.m. Pickup or delivery 949-0000 or get it online at www.pizzaboat.ky. Pizza Boat. Experience the ultimate pizza voyage.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the Record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We have about 8 minutes before we go to our 8 o'clock news. We do have a caller who has been holding for quite a while, so let's go straight to the phone lines. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning to all.
Good morning. Good morning.
I want to talk a little bit about the securities at the airport.
Okay.
You know, everybody knows you have to put your liquids in a plastic zip bag, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when it gets to the security in Grand, and now it started in the BRAC through those securities coming over from Grand Cayman to the BRAC, you know, you take out your plastic bag and you put it in the tray, okay? But after they go through the scanner thing, then they want to take out the liquids out of the little pack, even, you know, your eye drops for your glaucoma and come in a little box, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They want to take that out and look at that too. And I tell them no, because, you know, this toilet and maybe your hand's not clean, you know, and you put germs in that and I get it in my eye, and infection your eye takes a long time to get better.
So do they want to open the actual container or just want to look at the packaging?
No, they want to look at the packaging, open the package and take out the little vial of liquid out of the little container box.
Are they normally wearing gloves?
Yeah, but you know, gloves, the same thing is not gloves. So
yeah, it can still pick up
germs.
germs.
You can hand wherever you want with gloves too, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
gloves, you have germs too, you know.
Yeah, I find, and I don't know why, but when you, and I know that there are various levels of security. Some jurisdictions are viewed as being more vulnerable than others, but a lot of the protocols that you have to go through here in the Cayman Islands, when you get over, let's say, to the United States, you don't have to go through half of the things that you have to go through here in the Cayman Islands. And you wonder sometimes whether or not it is overkill, because we have a tendency here in Cayman to be the last to implement. We hold on to the relics of the past, and but it would be useful to ask them, and they should be able to tell you, can you show me where your regulations say that you have to open my eye drops? I'm sure that I can understand them wanting to look at the container to ensure. I've never had it happen to me. I guess it depends on the person that you're dealing with, but they really need to be consistent with the way that they apply the rules and regulations. It should be, applied by evenly across the board by everyone, not one particular security person doing one thing and another doing the other as well. So what was the response that they gave you?
The clear plastic bag, you can see it's in that clear plastic Ziploc bag, you know. So when you open it, I just come back from Tampa, and they didn't even. I said, no, you don't have to take it out of your bag. We'll extract your bag, and we can see what's in your bag. You don't have to take all your liquid out of your bag. But your man, they want to take it out of your bag, put it in a tray, okay. But then they should be able to see through the bag what it is. You know, I think it's just short of common sense of these people. They can look at through the clear Ziploc bag and see what it is, can't they? I mean, that's my problem with them. You know, they don't have no common sense. Common sense is not common no more, you know.
I can understand them, at least even if it's packaged. Let's say, for instance, you have your eye drop, but you have the eye drop in a box. To at least take the container out of the box so that they can see that separately.
But why they can't see through the clear box, the clear plastic bag?
I'm not sure how the X-ray system works. I'm not sure how it works.
I mean, I don't talk about X-ray. I talk about after they get through the X-ray, you got it out of the bag into the bag, and you know you got it in the plastic zip bag. You got it into the.
But it's still in the if it's still in the box, then they would want to take it out of the box. If it is not in the box, then I can understand your argument as well, sir.
Well, I don't see why they need to take it out of the box. You know, you got in it, everything. What it is, you can see through the plastic bag. You know.
Don't forget also that they bear a tremendous amount of responsibility, because if they let it through and something happens, then they're the ones, you know, who are going to be held responsible as well. So we hope and we trust that they're doing their job and that they're doing it based on the guidance that they have been given by their bosses.
Yeah, I don't see why they need to go overboard with everything, you know, and so people, you know, certain people, I didn't understand that there's such a governor here in the BRAC a couple of days ago or last week, something, you know. To me, to get to the order and goes to beyond, you know, that's my opinion of it, you know.
Well, I believe the governor is exempt from any security check like that. To my knowledge, it should not happen to the governor.
I mean, I can't say true. That's
okay.
What I heard, you know.
Yeah. Well, hopefully someone is listening and someone may pass on some information. If they do, caller, I will certainly share that with you and the rest of our audience. If someone who is involved in airport security, or maybe even someone from the Civil Aviation Authority or the Airports Authority may provide us with some information in relation to that. But I do have concerns, and some people have as well, that we are more stringent here than many places in the U.S. But not to forget that we, the FAA, that we fall under their jurisdiction as well, and it is not unusual for them to come to the Cayman Islands to inspect and to see how our processes are working. But again, also, the technology has been improving so much. But then there are still some places in the U.S. where you're allowed to keep your shoes on, and there are others that you have to take your shoes off, especially when you're going through that secondary scanning, machine that you have to put your hands up in a triangular shape, and you have to spread eagle, what the police call spread eagle, and everything. Usually you have to have your shoes off there. But it is so inconsistent. But again, for security reasons, cannot afford to let your guard down, because there are still persons out there who have bad intentions. There are still organizations out there that have bad intentions as well. And we can't afford to let our guard down. And while it may be inconvenient, I just simply go through the motions. If that's what I'm required to do, and I may voice my opinion and say, I think it's really ridiculous that you're doing this, but, you can voice it. But if you want to get through, you have to follow the rules as well. Folks, we have reached the top of the hour of the 8 o'clock news. When we return, the phone lines will remain open. We I still have lots of things to share with you as well. We see where one of a senior Caymanian banker urges proactive steps to protect customers online. I will share that with you as well. That will go hand in hand, sort of, with the CBC's online payment as well. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time now is 8 o'clock and brought to you with the kind compliments of Foster's.
Together, we make a difference. Due to stigma, many men silently endure the physical and mental issues of prostate cancer. This persists when society turns a blind eye to the well-being of our brothers, fathers, and sons. This month, Foster's and Priced Right, alongside the Cayman Islands Cancer Society, is shining a spotlight on an issue that doesn't need to hide in the dark. Donate today at any Foster's or Priced Right simply by rounding up your purchase or donating. Together, the CICS can provide support, initiatives, and give everyone suffering from this disease a chance at healing.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. A man found guilty of indecent assault against an 8-year-old has his appeal rejected by the court. Radio Cayman's Jevy Ebanks brings us this report.
The Court of Appeal of the Cayman Islands has rejected an appeal from DeAnthony Russell, who was found guilty of indecent assault of an 8-year-old girl back in May 2022. In a judgment released on the 30th of October 2023, the Court of Appeal said that no grounds of appeal were being advanced in his defense, and there were no grounds for reviewing the application. The panel of judges still looked carefully at all the circumstances of the offense and any possible reason as to why it would be argued. The appellant court says that it has seen none and dismissed the application. DeAnthony Russell continues to serve a 3-year prison sentence at His Majesty's Prison, Northward. Jevy Ebanks, Radio Cayman News.
The newly published Merchant Shipping Bill, if passed into law, will repeal and replace the 2021 version of the Act. It covers a wide range of issues, particularly with regards to the registration of ships, the logging of the national character and flag of the ships visiting Cayman, and requirements for seafarers working on a ship, as well as the condition of their employment. Part 6 of the bill deals with the prevention of collisions, safety of navigation, vessels in distress, and aids to navigation, while also enshrining that inspections of the bill shall be carried out by a surveyor or inspector. The bill outlines safety of life at sea and maritime safety and gives the government the power to detain unsafe ships. Part 12 deals with wrecks and salvage. Part 14 with liabilities, including for oil pollution in the case of certain ships, for bunker oil pollution and wreck removal, while Part 15 relates to maritime security under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, 1982. This covers things like piracy and the destruction of a ship. The bill, if passed, outlines the responsibility of enforcement officers, particularly surveyors and inspectors, and provides for investigations into marine and shipping casualties. You can find the full bill online at gov.ky. And on Friday, October 27th, the RCIPS Community Policing Unit hosted a movie night and toy drive at the West Bay Heritage Field. Radio Cayman's Felicia Rankin-Solins has more on this event.
This was a collaboration between the Community Policing Unit and the Department of Children and Family Services, and is one of the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service's outreach programs to bring families in the community together. They report that about 60 adults and children attended the event and enjoyed the experience of watching a movie under the stars. The following day, Saturday, October 28th, the CPU hosted a seniors luncheon held in honor of the West Bay seniors at the John Gray Memorial Church Hall in West Bay. This event was a collaboration between CPU and Caymankind Action Committee and was part of the celebration of Older Persons Month under the theme, Aging Your Way. 63 people were in attendance. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which will take us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller.
BBC News with Emily Thomas. The Israeli military has carried out one of the heaviest bombardments of the Gaza Strip since the conflict began a month ago. It said hundreds more targets had been hit and a Hamas military compound had been seized by troops. The director of the Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City said 200 people were killed overnight. He told the BBC that many casualties were taken to hospital in carts pulled by donkeys. The US Secretary of State has held talks in Ankara with his Turkish counterpart on the final stop of a regional tour. He told reporters that everyone he'd spoken to wanted Washington to play a leading role in preventing the conflict from spreading and ensuring that more aid reached Gaza. The authorities in Delhi have announced more measures to tackle air pollution that's shrouded the Indian capital. All schools will close except for pupils taking final exams. Car drivers will only be allowed to use their vehicle on alternate days. Officials in Nepal say vital relief for those affected by an earthquake on Friday is not getting through. In one of the worst-hit regions, Rukun West, thousands have been left without shelter. Preliminary results from elections in Moldova show the mayor of the capital has fought off a challenge from a candidate linked to the pro-European president. Maya Sandu's party said it had done well elsewhere. The video game Fortnite says it had its biggest ever day on Sunday. Nearly 45 million players logged in worldwide. Fortnite launched a new season on Friday. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
You don't sound too good there, Bobo.
Yeah, you know how it is. With the kids back in school, every other week they come in now with something, and then I catch it.
Sound like it gets you. But for real, brother, flu season is here and COVID is still around. You gotta stock up on things like medicine, vitamins, and minerals for you and the kids. You know what they say, prevention is better than cure.
At ValueMed, our pharmacists can help manage flu symptoms and provide guidance on vitamins and minerals to best support you and your family's overall health. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Town, or WhatsApp your questions and prescription refills to ValueMed on Walkers Road at 926-1662 or WhatsApp ValueMed in Town at 916-5511. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Cayman Islands, clear your calendars because something extraordinary is coming your way. Ignite the Fire, hosted by Christ for All Nations, is roaring into the Lions Center from November 29th to December 3rd. Join us for an epic worship and gospel event, a monumental move of God that will transform lives and reveal destinies. Don't miss this 5-night, once-in-a-generation experience. Be a part of history in the making. Ignite the Fire, Cayman. Mark your date, November 29th to December 3rd at 6:30 p.m. nightly, and get ready for an unforgettable spiritual journey that will set your heart ablaze. Cayman and you will never be the same again.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
The 8 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 82 degrees. Relative humidity is 78%. The barometric pressure is 29.89 inches and rising. The wind is out of the east-northeast at 10 knots. Overnight low temperature was 81 degrees. Synopses indicate moderate northeasterly winds and seas continues across the Cayman area for the next few days as a high-pressure system lingers over the southeast United States. Satellite images show scattered upper-level clouds across the Cayman area drifting towards the north. Now, the forecast for today and tonight, calling for partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers, and temperatures today will be in the upper 80s and will fall to the upper 70s tonight. Winds will be east to northeast at 15 to 20 knots for today and tonight, and seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. Low tide will be this morning at 11:38, high tide this evening at 5:56. The sun will set this evening at 5:48 and will rise tomorrow morning at 6:29. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Wednesday morning.
Take some advice from your Aunt Angie. Don't lie on your resume. Because if you say you've got trapeze experience, someone might shoot you out of a cannon and expect you to do a gymnast routine while flying through the air at 82 miles an hour. And just because you want to land on your feet doesn't mean you will. But if you're smart, you'll have CG medical insurance, so you get the best coverage for the price.
Get the best coverage for the price. CG Brit-K. Good like that. All benefits are subject to policy provisions, including eligibility at the time of service.
The 8 a.m. Weather Report, brought to you by CG Brit-K, where people come first.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
Change your thinking, change your life. There's no great success without commitment.
As motivational speaker Tony Robbins said, individuals who succeed have a belief in the power of commitment. If there's a single belief that seems almost inseparable from success, it's that there's no great success without commitment. If you look at successful people in any field, you'll find they're not necessarily the best and the brightest, the fastest and the strongest. You'll find they're the ones with the most commitment.
Change your thinking. Change your life.
During these unprecedented times, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Cayman Strong Series. The Cayman Strong Series is brought to you by OnCourse Cayman. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
These days, feelings of loneliness, anxiety, stress, and depression can be overwhelming. Just know you are not alone. OnCourse Cayman offers private mental health services for children, teens, adults, and groups. Visit oncourse.ky to view a full list of wellness services and their qualified team. OnCourse Cayman, health, wellness, and happiness.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Good morning. Once again, let's take a look this time at traffic. Heavy traffic coming from the east on Shamrock Road and coming off of Rex Crichton Boulevard and also on the Linford Pearson Highway. Traffic is steady on Crew Road heading to Georgetown. Steady traffic coming off of the Esterly Tibbetts Highway. Delays expected. And continuing on to North Sound Road, traffic is also steady heading towards the Industrial Park area. Coming off of Bobby Thompson Way, steady traffic, and traffic is also steady coming off of Agnes Way. As we look to Godfrey Nixon Way and Eastern Avenue, traffic is flowing moderately, and a moderate flow of traffic as well on Edward Street out of Georgetown on Shedden. We're looking pretty good into Georgetown on Shedden Road, moderate flow of traffic. And that's what's happening on your roads. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12. We'll give you another traffic report. Have a good morning and buckle up.
They say variety is the spice of life. And that's why at Subway, we're introducing the new boneless hot sub.
Say what?
The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new boneless hot sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Planning a meeting, event, or office celebration? Visit subway.ky to place your catering order today.
Time to text the group chat. Direct flights from Grand Cayman to Barbados are officially here. Starting October 18th, you can now plan your Barbados getaway or family reunion with a non-stop flight via Cayman Airways. Weekly flights starting October 18th and twice weekly flights on Tuesdays and Thursdays begin November 7th, 2023. To book your flight today, call Cayman Airways Reservations at 1-800-422-9626 or book online at CaymanAirways.com. So pack your bags and get ready. Barbados is now closer than ever.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
For the record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. Want to remind you that our phone lines are open. If you have any questions, comments, anything that you want to share with us, you can call us on 949-6990, 949-8037, WhatsApp number 925-3261. So one of our listeners has written in and said, "Good morning, Mr. Connor. Because they have used the same gloves for inspection of other persons' items in the airport, I've always asked them to put on new gloves when inspecting my medicine, etc." I think that is a reasonable request to be made, and like the previous caller said as well, those gloves could have germs on them, and when it is medicine that has the possibility of being contaminated in any way, that would be interesting. What I think would also be important, if they could post certain instructions in the areas while people are on lines, because some of those lines can be extremely long and slow. While they're online, they can have those signs up there indicating what the rules are and anything. But at the end of the day, remember that you are the paying customer. They're there to serve you, to make sure that that you travel safely. And any reasonable request that you make to them, there's no reason why it shouldn't be honored. Now, there are some people who are who feel in some way that, number one, the airport security persons, most of them are non-Caymanian, not indigenous Caymanians. And some Caymanians feel that they believe that those persons think that, I have a Caymanian now that I can have under my control. I can deal with them. I can put them, press the thumb down on them a little bit. And they may be doing that as well. And that is why it is important to know, what the do's and don'ts, what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do as well, because there are some people who get that feeling. I'm going to share another message. One person has written to me and said, "Good morning, Mr. OC, respect, but I think that if you didn't talk too much and give the callers more time to say what's on their minds, it would be better. It seems the last caller wanted to say more, but you didn't give her a chance, but it was a him. It wasn't a her. It was a him. Give him a chance. And I wrote back to that writer and I said, I agree with you to an extent. But I also point out to them that the dialogue that we're going to have on the telephone, on the radio here, it has to be a balanced dialogue as well, with alternative views and suggestions. So when someone calls in and they give me factual information and at the same time they voice their opinion and say this is how things should be or shouldn't be, I have to also present the alternative and a rational reason for it. I have to, I'm the moderator, so I have to create that balance. I do try to give people, enough time to express themselves. Sometimes that is not possible because of time constraints. I don't think that was the case this morning. I assume that the caller had gotten their point across as well. Then I will share one more with you. This one has to do with cyclists. So I have to find that one as well, because what I try to do is I try to also interact with my listeners using the WhatsApp when I get the opportunity to. And this person wrote and said, I would like for you to get the word out to your riding colleagues in the Cayman Islands that whenever they are riding on the road, they should ride in single file. I have experienced on many occasions that these riders ride parallel with one another, which obstructs on the oncoming traffic. They cannot pass. This has happened to me on several occasions, and I find it to be very dangerous. It is dangerous out there. Roads are dangerous as well. And here's my reply to that. The traffic law actually allows riders to ride two abreast where road conditions allow. Drivers also need to be more patient and only pass riders when it is safe to do so. I do admit that some cyclists believe that they own the roads and their actions give the law-abiding cyclists a bad reputation as well. So the person wrote back and said, precisely, that's my point, because some of these people do believe that they own the roads and riders and ride 3 or 4 abreast. And when they're riding 3 or 4 abreast, that is against the law. They should not be doing that. And if a police were around, they should give them a ticket, for that as well. Do we have any callers on hold, Ms. Susan? Let's grab the caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, O.C., and good morning to your listeners.
Good morning, Billy. Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thanks. Well, 2 preliminary things. One, it's a very sad day for me because beginning today, I have to get up 1 hour earlier to listen to you because we are now on the same time zone.
Yes. Do you know that at one time in the 60s that it was proposed to go to daylight savings time, and that was rejected by our legislators here in the Cayman Islands. And then I think most recently, a few years ago, the subject was broached again, but it didn't get any traction.
Well, I didn't know about the earlier one, of course, but I think the second time it arose, I think it was during the time of the premiership of Sir Alden. I think it was discussed a little bit. I remember that. Yeah. Well, there were even some people who were trying to I saw them on American TV one time. I think they were trying to have the same time zone for every place. Some really radical something like that, but I can't remember, the details of it. But secondly, the other interesting thing, if you see OC, you catch it from all sides regarding the opportunity you give people to call in. Sometimes you are accused of giving certain people too much time.
Yes.
and then sometimes you are accused of cutting people off. But I think we are all, I mean, you do a very good job, I must say,
Thank you,
trying to
thank you.
give people an opportunity and to have two sides of the story and so on. But I know that sometimes when people call, so they need more time. We just have to work hard enough to see if we can all sort of contribute to what we're trying to do. Now, there's 2-3 weeks ago we spoke about the training of drafters, and you asked me a question as to why don't people want to become drafters. Now, I don't want to get overly technical about this, but I just thought I might give a little bit of a continuing answer, especially that you see there's a lot of important legislation which is about to come up in Cayman, particularly in relation to legislation to immigration. And I think it's important for people to understand how important it is to have the right people to draft that legislation and to have the right people who are making the proposals to write the legislation. A lot of people do not know that at least the years I was with the portfolio of legal affairs, the people who wrote the legislation were a Trinidadian lawyer and an Irish gentleman. Nothing against any of those two. I think they did a good job. But the question I always asked is, why were they sitting in a room trying to write this legislation? There was no indigenous Caymanian. Where is that voice? Okay? You see, now, people will say, oh, but you see, that's not really necessary. I mean, because the proposal comes from the government, and the government will have to approve it. But you see, people who speak like that do not understand how legislation works, because although as drafters, it is usually said that, well, we don't decide policy, we only write the technical aspect. That is not quite accurate. It is correct at a generalized level. But once you get into the detail of writing the legislation, you can influence a lot of refinement of the policy. And I think that Cayman hasn't done very well, one, in ensuring that they are sufficiently sensitive to the involvement of Caymanians at that nitty-gritty level. And also Cayman has not done well to train local drafters. In other countries, you will know this, OC. You need security clearance to write legislation, not in Cayman. In other countries, you need to be a citizen of that country to write legislation, not in Cayman. And then there is this wrong thing that people say, oh, but you see, any lawyer can write legislation. Now, that is not correct. What happens, for example, in Australia, if you want to learn how to write legislation, they say that if you learn in the office, it takes you at least 6 years for you to be able to work on your own, even if you were a qualified lawyer after that. And that is very, very important, because legal drafting skills are different from legislative drafting skills. A legislative counsel is somebody who has got a high specialized knowledge of constitutional law, judicial review, administrative law, statutory interpretation, human rights, and then they have to have a broad knowledge of the law in general, as well as court procedure if possible. If I've got 30 seconds, I'd like to conclude.
Sure. You have about, actually 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay. Thank you very much, Yossi. Now, when I have tried to tell people, hey, Cayman needs to do better to train both the local drafters as well as train public officials who will work with drafters, what I've often been told is, well, but you see, there's no need for that kind of training, you see, because we already know what we do. Now, I can ask you also, if I say, how many people, general lawyers out there, how many know that in Cayman to enact a piece of legislation, from the time that it is conceived as an idea to the time it comes into force, there are approximately 30 steps, 30 steps. I don't think there are many lawyers who know that in private practice. And even if I were to say, okay, can you tell me what those 30 steps are? I can tell you off the cuff because I've been through the system. A private lawyer will not be able to do that. I recall one time a minister, after I'd written my book on legislative process in the Cayman Islands, a former minister, very friendly, and he's now out of politics. He ran into me outside Royal Bank, and he said, you know what, I've been reading your little book on on legislative process. I wish I had read that book before I became a minister because there's so much in it. And I think sometimes we do not know what we do not know. Those people in Cayman who think they understand legislation, a lot of them don't really understand legislation. They will only know once they learn how it's supposed to be done, then they can look back and say, oh, we didn't know what we thought we knew. And I think Cayman needs to do a lot to be able to do that, because only then can local people have a real control on how the legislation is written.
Before you go, Billy, what can the government do? What can we do to make the legislative drafting, that profession, more attractive to Caymanians?
Okay. One, even before, well, put it this way. What some countries have done is this. They have tried to ensure that when lawyers join government, those who decide to go and study legislative drafting, when they finish writing when they finish their courses, they join the civil service, or at least on their first promotion, they will have a higher post than somebody who is in litigation, for example. I know that the country I came from, that's the way it was. When we joined together, we were all the equivalent of Crown Counsel. But on a first promotion of somebody who joined legislative drafting, you got a higher post. Okay, it's almost like you jumped 2 posts. That's one thing that can be done. At the moment, they are all equivalent. In other countries also, what they have done is they have ensured that people like the first legislative council, they are equivalent to the Attorney General and they are equivalent to a judge. Okay, so that department then becomes a highly, highly specialized, as well as in terms of the salaries are very, very high. In Australia also they've done the same. That's one thing that can be done. And you see, one thing again people should understand is that even if they decide to leave legislative drafting and go to litigation, drafting skills are very important, because legal drafting skills in general are fine. All lawyers have them, but legislative drafting skills are also very, very useful when you go out there to practice. I know some lawyers who were charged costs, what is called costs, wasted costs for bad drafting skills in Cayman. I won't mention a name, but I know lawyers who've been charged that because of lack of skills.
Okay. So
we just need to do a little more.
And one quick one, because I know I have to go to commercial, but I wanted to ask this. Will artificial intelligence play any role in legal drafting in the future? Okay, we're going to go to a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. That was a rhetorical question. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
West Bay Pharmacy. Personalized medicine, customized care to meet your specific needs. Your body is unique to you. Your medicine should be too. Whether you're seeking individual-specific medication, correct size dosages, or simply better tasting medicine, ask your pharmacist or healthcare provider about how compounding at West Bay Pharmacy can increase your treatment options, not only for your family, but for your pets too. West Bay Pharmacy, open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., Sundays and most holidays from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Brand Source Home Gallery 54th birthday celebration with store-wide savings. Save on appliances, faucets, tubs, toilets, shower doors, vanities, kitchen cabinets, custom closets, and more. Starting Monday, November 6th, save 30%. Monday, November 13th, the savings will drop to 20%. And Monday, November 20th, they will drop to 10%. It pays to shop early and save more. Brand Source Home Gallery 54th birthday celebration savings on now through November 25th. Dorsey Drive Industrial Park. Call 623-5000 for more details.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you heard the news? Digicel is back with exciting offers that are too good to resist. Activate one of our brand new prepaid or postpaid plans today and experience telecommunications like never before. With more data, dedicated entertainment options like Netflix, YouTube, Spotify, and endless social text data for all your favorite platforms. Digicel is here to make sure you stay connected and entertained. Whether you are on a prepaid or postpaid, you will also enjoy dedicated roaming data for the USA, Canada, and the Caribbean. It's all about value, and Digicel has got you covered.
System 1 loaded.
1-800-534-8255. What is on your mind when it comes to the government, independence, and the opposition? Issues that matter to you. 1-800-534-8255. Waiting to hear from you. For the record.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. No guest in the studio, but we will have Minister Andre Ebanks on the line with us after our 9 o'clock news. We look forward to that conversation with Minister Andre Ebanks. Meanwhile, I promised you that I would share something else with you. This was something, press release sent out by Scotiabank. It's a feature article. Senior Caymanian banker urges proactive steps to protect customers online. Says bank customers in the Cayman Islands are urged to be the first line of defense in combating cybercrime and to exercise extreme caution as scammers seek to target account holders through dubious emails, SMS, text messages, or deceptive links. The warning issued by senior banker Shervain Stewart, Director, Retail Banking, comes amid growing concern about cybercrime schemes, some of which operate across international borders. Bank customers, she says, have become more vulnerable to the reach of cyber fraudsters because of the global ubiquity of the cell phone, and reliance on internet connectivity, which has soared during and since the COVID-19 pandemic. Against the backdrop of last month's commemoration as Cybersecurity Month, Stewart has advised account holders to proactively safeguard their financial information and other personal data. Besides the security features we have implemented to shield clients from scams, customers have to be the first line of defense in the war against fraud, said Stewart. Banking industry stakeholders are lobbying account holders to arm themselves with information on evolving methods of fraud, Stewart also said. Stewart also said that it is crucial that customers are able to identify red flags and to contact their branch or customer care personnel to report fraud attempts. The Scotiabank head of retail banking also warns customers to be wary of phishing, a broad term for scams initiated electronically, vishing, which involves phone or video-based targeting, and smishing, which is fraud perpetrated through SMS text messaging. Other fraud schemes include fake websites. Yeah, you have to be careful about those. Investment, charity, and romance scams and job rackets. Though their schemes vary, fraudsters have the same broad strategy: to exploit vulnerabilities and gain the trust of their potential victims, Stewart said. Here are a few tips from Scotiabank on safeguarding your money from fraudsters. And folks, I hope you all are listening. Guard your PINs and passwords as you would cash. Don't write them down anywhere or allow anyone to have access to them. Be wary of unsolicited emails or phone calls requesting personal or financial information. Don't click on links in emails or messages from unknown sources, and don't download attachments unless you are sure they are safe. Also, use strong and unique passwords. Avoid using easily guessable passwords or ones that have been used before. Check the address of websites before entering personal or financial information. Only use trusted websites. I'm going to pause there for a second because they can almost clone websites and make them look alike. What may give some of them away because they are from countries where English is not the first language. You can also detect, in their grammar or the words that they use, that it is not necessarily a genuine website as well. That's something that you could look out for. That's what I'm just adding to this. It goes on to say, avoid unsecured public Wi-Fi for sensitive transactions. Public Wi-Fi networks may not be secure and could allow hackers to intercept your data. Ensure that your computer and mobile device software is up to date, including your antivirus and anti-malware software. Contact your bank immediately if you believe your account has or could be compromised by a fraudster. There may still be time for action to be taken to prevent loss. So this is coming from Scotiabank. And of course, what the banks are trying to do, protect you, but at the same time, they're trying to protect their financial interests as well. We have seen situations where some financial institutions, some banks have been reluctant and have pushed back against restoring, making people whole again when their accounts have been hacked for no reasons of the account holder, but maybe something that that the bank exposed themselves to. But some of them are very stingy when it comes time to paying out or to making an account holder whole again, if their accounts have been hacked due to no fault of their own. But that I find to be extremely, extremely useful information as well. Ms. Susan, we're going to take that commercial break, folks. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
So much happening so fast, too much. It is hard for me to follow my health care instructions. The private counseling with West Bay Pharmacy literally saved my life.
At West Bay Pharmacy, we know how complex medications can be. Our pharmacists are delighted to offer you personalized one-on-one healthcare counseling, free medication review, therapeutic callbacks, and we will liaise with your physician to ensure you receive the best in quality medical care.
Quality of life has a whole new meaning with the right pharmacy to support you. Thank you, West Bay Pharmacy.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Convenient quality care is just around the corner. Now you can WhatsApp your West Bay Pharmacy prescriptions to 516-0777.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, K-Man.
We are now in the hurricane season, and to survive a hurricane, you need to be informed. If you have been informed by official sources that a hurricane is approaching the Cayman Islands, and you live in a low-lying area that is prone to flooding or near the beaches, which may be swept by high tides or storm waves, please seek a safe place and high ground. If the only way for you to get to a safe place is a road that is also likely to be flooded during a storm, please leave home early. Don't run the risk of being stranded. This has been a public service announcement from your community station, Radio Cayman.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. Any callers on hold, Miss Susan? No callers on hold? Okay, I'm going to share this article with you because this is interesting. And as we know, in the next few years, I'm not sure when, I'll look it up to see when the CUC's operating agreement in the Cayman Islands, when that comes up for renewal. But in Bermuda, just like many other jurisdictions where we see the high cost of electricity, it looks like the Bermudans, based on their legislation, there's something that they can do about this. So it says that the RA to undergo legislative reform after the hike in power costs. So it says the government is to make changes to the way the regulatory authority and electricity supplier BELCO operates to provide for greater public protections against dramatic price hikes. The announcement made during last Friday's throne speech came in the wake of a 20% increase in electricity fees announced by BELCO, that's the provider, in Bermuda last month. And it goes on to say that the regulatory authority ratified the increase, claiming that it was necessary to offset the increasing global price of fuel. Details of the proposed amendments were not given in the throne speech, which acknowledged that the energy sector was complex, where pricing is influenced by global and local factors. It added, the government will advancements to the Regulatory Act 2022 and the Electricity Act 2016 to provide for greater public protections in pricing determination and implementation. Following last month's shock rise, the government stepped in to demand why the regulatory authority, an independent body funded by the public purse, had endorsed the increase. And the Minister for Home Affairs later emphatically insisted that the increase would be scaled back in the immediate future and that the regulatory authority would change its methodology when calculating fuel prices in future. But Mr. Robin was also forced to admit that under current law, it would be illegal for the government to interfere or influence the regulatory authority in its decisions. He said the regulatory authority operates independently. We have no role in the process that they do in fulfilling their rules as the regulator of licensed entities. The law is very clear, and you can go to the Regulator Act and see that the rules of the minister cannot direct or interfere with the regulatory authority in their role of regulating any particular entity. That is against the law. If I do, I am breaking the law, and I will never break the law. So here he's acknowledging that he cannot direct the regulatory authority, in terms of what they can or cannot do. And the regulatory authority would be the equivalent of, or what is it called? Somebody remind me what it is called here in the Cayman Islands. Having a senior moment on that one, but it'll come to me. So that there is a situation that I wanted to share with you. So they're going to be reviewing their two pieces of legislation that governs electricity, which is the Regulatory Act 2022 and the Electricity Act 2016. Here in the Cayman Islands, like I said before, I believe in a few years that the CUC agreement will have to be renewed or renegotiated. Something that we should be looking at from now. We should be seeing what is going to be done about this. We need to find, just like we heard the former minister, Mr. Arden McLean, talk about the fact that the team that they put together, with that agreement, to either get an independent body or a team together to look at this situation again. We saw where CUC's profits have increased. They have attributed that to, in addition to other things, to more construction, more customers coming online. But we also know that based on during the summer, the way that our electricity bills went up, that had a lot to do with the increase in their bottom line as well. So I shared that one with you. There's another one that I wanted to share with you. Yeah, this one is important. I've spoken on several occasions about crime in the Caribbean, crime in the overseas, the increase in crime in the overseas territories, and question whether or not that is something that should be or will be discussed during the Joint Ministerial Council meeting that will take place in the UK this month, sometime this month as well. So we see where the United Kingdom has given $1 million for a law enforcement review to the British Virgin Islands. It says that they have UK government has allocated approximately $1 million to contribute towards a comprehensive review of the territory's law enforcement agencies. The funding comes amid a spike in various crimes, especially those gun-related, which law enforcers say are primarily due to the drug trade. Common theme. Goes on to say that the governor of the BVI, John Rankin, said members of Her Majesty's Inspectorate of constabulary, and fire and rescue services arrived in the BVI last weekend to begin the fieldwork phase of the review. The study will look at the structure, resources, funding, conduct, and standards, amongst other matters, of the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, Customs, Immigration, and Prison Service. The Attorney General's Chambers, Director of Public Prosecution's Office, Financial Investigation Authority, and the courts, both magistrate and high courts, will also be considered as part of the review insofar as they relate to law enforcement, the governor said. The team will also look at whether the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force and other enforcement agencies have the facilities and powers to prevent, monitor, and detect crime and prepare matters for prosecution. Governor John Rankin is quoted as saying that he believes that the outcome of this review will shape our approach to law enforcement over at least the next 10 years. I aspire for the British Virgin Islands law enforcement agencies and the justice system to be seen as a model for the region. He also said that the review will provide greater clarity in areas of improvement and recommendations into alternative ways of approaching law enforcement that would benefit the BVI. And then after the review has taken place, the report is expected to be presented to the Premier and the incoming governor by the end of March of 2024. It will then be published as appropriate thereafter. So we see the UK has an interest in the British Virgin Islands to review their law enforcement agencies, including the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Financial Investigation Authority, the Attorney General's Chambers. Folks, just a question. Isn't it time for us to have someone else look at what we're doing in the Cayman Islands rather than assessing it ourselves and saying we're doing well. When you do that self-assessment, it isn't always the best way of making an assessment. Sometimes you need someone from the outside looking in. The one thing that you have to guard about against that, though, when the UK gets involved in it, is that they want to then send their experts down here. And when you know, the next thing you know, those experts have gained a foothold themselves in the jurisdiction when it comes to recommendation for someone to head up something, they recommend themselves, as well. Don't put it past them to do things like that. So we have to be careful what we accept and how we accept it as well. But I do believe that we need someone from the outside looking in, because we are here in the Cayman Islands facing similar challenges that other overseas territories, British overseas territories, are facing when it comes to crime. And in the majority of cases, it has to do with the drug trade as well. That is one way that many of the guns come into the Cayman Islands. That's the way that we have illegals coming into the Cayman Islands as well. We have to acknowledge that, and we hope and we trust. If this is not on the agenda for the Joint Ministerial Council meeting, then it should be placed on there as an addendum, because Bermuda experiencing it, Turks and Caicos experiencing it, British Virgin Islands experiencing the crime, the Cayman Islands are experiencing the criminal activity as well. Don't hear too much about Montserrat and Anguilla. Not as much, but I'm sure that they have their problem. All, folks, in many instances, all to do with the illegal drugs trade. Folks, we're going to go to our headline news. When we return, we're going to link up with Minister Andre Ebanks by a phone link. There will be no ability to take calls. No calls will be taken. Certain things that the minister wants to talk about and to explain, and we look forward to that conversation. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Radio Cayman,
The voice,
the heart, the soul of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority and the Ministry of Tourism and Transport.
The Customs and Border Control Unit's online system, known as COLS, will allow importers and traders to pay online for single declarations with a max payment of $2,500. Last week, the Deputy Director of Import said they were in the final testing stages of the product, which he says aligns with CBC's strategic objective of streamlining and improving its business processes. Israel's military has carried out one of the heaviest bombardments of Gaza since the war began a month ago. The director of a Gaza City hospital says about 200 people were killed in strikes overnight. Casualties arrived at the hospital in carts carried by donkeys, and communications outages have left people unable to reach ambulance services. The Israeli military said its troops, quote, took control of a Hamas outpost in Gaza last night and had effectively divided the strip in two. Meanwhile, all major UN agencies have said, quote, enough is enough in a rare joint statement as they repeat calls for a humanitarian ceasefire. The U.S.'s top diplomat, Antony Blinken, says he's working, quote, very aggressively to get more aid into Gaza as he rounds off a tour of the region. Those are your headlines. I'm Carsley Fuller.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority and the Ministry of Tourism and Transport.
It's one of the best moments of your life when you welcome your baby into the world. The HSA's experienced women's health and maternity team provides the highest quality of care throughout your pregnancy and delivery. As a JCI accredited hospital, we are the leader in maternal care, safely delivering over 700 babies annually. Visit hsa.ky for more information. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you. For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have on the phone lines with us this morning Minister Andre Ebanks. He has been a very, very busy man these last several weeks, several months as well. Minister Ebanks, good morning, sir. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC. First and foremost, am I coming through okay?
Yes, you are, sir. Yes, you are. Loud and clear.
Well, thank you so much. Good morning, Cayman, and good morning to Caymanians overseas. I appreciate, first and foremost, you taking this by phone. I'm a little under the weather this morning with what I think is a minor cold, of a stuffy nose and a bit of a sore throat.
Mm-hmm.
But like my grandmother said, don't put off to tomorrow what you could do today. And importantly, I don't want to infect you, sir.
Thank you for your kind consideration.
So thank you for having me on. We'll see how my voice holds up, but I'm at your disposal, sir.
Okay, well, we saw recently, we had the good news about the Cayman Islands being removed from the grey list. Can you tell us about that process, and can you talk a little bit about any further challenges that we may face going forward?
Certainly, sir. First of all, I would like to praise God for seeing the Cayman Islands through the FATF grey list process.
then go on to thank the Honorable Attorney General, all members of caucus that were supportive in the background, the public sector agencies that were absolutely key to the process, as well as the private sector, some of whom, which I'll come on to in a minute, were involved in the process, but more widely the industry having to make adjustments as we enhance our system in order to satisfy the FATF and be removed from the gray list. If it would be helpful, maybe for those perhaps not within the direct financial services industry, I could give a brief recap.
Sure. Yes, sir. The phone is yours. You can take it whatever direction you want.
Thank you, sir. So the FATF has two lists. One is a high-risk jurisdictions list where there are numerous serious strategic deficiencies, and that's quote-unquote called the blacklist. We were never on that list. They have another list where there are some strategic deficiencies of significance, but not very, very many, and you're on their list for increased monitoring, and that is quote-unquote the gray list. But being on that list does increase the risk profile of the jurisdiction and has implication for transactions and clients that are utilize the jurisdiction's financial services products. So it has an impact. The country had completed its mutual evaluation in what's called the FATF fourth round, which all of the participating countries had to undertake. And we did fairly well in the sense that in the prior administration, we have 40 out of the 40 standards met. That is more than fairly well in that particular aspect, because that means that Cayman is in a group of maybe only a dozen countries in the world that from a technical standpoint, our legislative framework meets all of the 40 technical standards. But the fourth round has an additional component that, okay, you have technically the legislation on the books, but how effective is it? So to test effectiveness, there were 63 recommended actions to prove effectiveness within an agreed timeline. We were nearly there as at February 2021, but we fell 3 short. And those 3 were the FATF's case for adding us to the gray list. Particularly because although it's 3 that remain, the 3 they considered strategically important. That they couldn't say, well, this is not one of sort of the minor ones, that we could say, all right, you continue to work on that as best as you can before you get to the 5th round. No, these are strategically important, so we, the FATF, have to continue to monitor you and add you to the gray list. 2 of the 3 related to the collection and enforcement of beneficial ownership information by the Monetary Authority, 1, and 2 by the General Registry, mainly the registrar company. The 3rd one related to whether or not the country can handle complex money laundering cases in line with our risk profile. The first was satisfied relatively early in, I think, Q2 of 2021 by the Monetary Authority. The second one took until the October plenary of 2022 to be satisfied, which was beneficial ownership information, again, as it relates to the General Registry's collection and enforcement. It was at that point, I think, in that meeting, the cycle has 2 meetings. One, you meet with the assessment team at a location somewhere in the Americas region. That is usually a month before each plenary in Paris. That particular cycle, September/October 2022, the meeting with the technical assessment team was in Nicaragua. I think it was that meeting that, at least for me in the process, made me change the approach, our approach, to the assessment and the gray list, in that I felt that a lot of our answers, and with all best of intentions, with how we saw ourselves, because you can get quite passionate. This is your country. You think you've done all of this work. Why are we still on this list? But at some point, I thought, okay, maybe we need to humble ourselves and listen more to how they see us, even if we disagree. And after that meeting, I think Attorney General I began to guide preparations for the next set of cycles in really studying not just the standards, but what the assessment team's view of us, and then come back with answers to match their view, rather than just putting how we see ourselves, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then we were able to satisfy in the October 22 plenary the second one on beneficial ownership. The third one, in terms of can the country handle complex money laundering cases, was always meant to be extremely challenging, and that's why they consider it a important strategic deficiency. Because I think somewhere in the region of 8 or 9 countries out of 10 struggle with this, because you would have to have a case in which someone has committed a crime within within the money laundering sphere.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, so that has to be investigated. That crime couldn't be any crime if 2 people just took a quart of milk from Foster's. It has to be something that is of significance that fits the country's profile. So in our profile of a sophisticated international financial center, they're looking for a complex transaction that involves multiple jurisdictions, and how our law enforcement agencies interact and change information in order to deliver a case that the DPP can bring to proof, convince a jury, and then have a judge come back with a persuasive enforcement action, meaning a sentence that fits within the FATF view of a sentence that's proportionate to the crime and dissuasive. So as you can see, a lot of that would be outside of a minister's hands.
Right.
Because the judiciary is a separate branch of government. But even before you get to that, you don't know when anybody will actually commit a crime that would fit the profile of what the FATF would be looking for.
And you can't go and manufacture a crime.
And you can't manufacture a crime, and I can't go twisting a judge's arm if you even do get one, because that's a whole other infringement. But what we had to do is say with what the DPP and the Financial Crimes Bureau have that they're investigating. The key is we have to, no matter what we think of the crimes or the cases that you're investigating, which one of these, looking at the definition of the FATF's risk and context, particular to Cayman, fit that description? Because there were others that were in the pipeline that I think we would deem, and if I showed them to you, because this process is confidential, that you would say, Andre, that is serious, that is complex. But is it of the complexity that they are looking for? Is the key question. So once again, as we stop to say, all right, let's listen to them, and we found at least 2 to 3 that we think fit the profile, we went back again in the January and February cycle of 2023, and then they agreed, but we hadn't had the sentence from the judge yet. We'd had a jury verdict by January and February 2023, but not the sentence from the judge, which of course the AG and I again cannot control. By the grace of God, which is why I started out your talk show this morning by praising God, because AG and I cannot intervene. The judge, and there has been some judicial training to give the AG's chambers and the anti-money laundering credit of sentencing guidelines as it relates to money laundering and counter-terrorist financing. But still, a judge is free to sentence as they see fit within their powers. Thankfully, by the May and June plenary cycle, we had a sentence from a judge. And it was at that plenary was probably the key cycle between talking to the on-site team and, which was in, I think that one was in Mexico, and then going to the plenary in Paris. I think that was probably our strongest level of advocacy to the FATF between the entire team, the Attorney General and I, to say, we've heard you, we've taken a step back, but we believe based on what you have set out, these cases fit the profile and show that we are a jurisdiction. That if this comes our way, the guardrails are strong, the investigation will happen, the DPP will march forward with evidence persuasive enough to convince a jury, and the judges are sufficiently trained to take note and account of a sentence that's appropriate within the circumstance. And to the team's credit, that was our compelling case. We made our stand, and they agreed and issued now the final hurdle, which is, okay, you said all this, you've traveled to us, you've delivered this. Now we, the assessment team, need to come and eyeball Cayman for ourselves. You've satisfied us now on paper. Let us go see this jurisdiction. This isn't unique to Cayman, by the way. This is the process for every country.
Okay.
So the on-site as the last hurdle before you can present to be removed from the gray list. So 31st of August and the 1st of September, the team came to Cayman, and most of the meetings were held within the facilities of the Monetary Authority, in which they have come for two reasons: to look back at all three reasons as to why you were on the gray list in the first place, and have your efforts, since they've ticked them off as being satisfied, being maintained, because they want to be satisfied that if you're removed from the gray list, there's evidence to say that you're going to continue with strong guardrails, and you won't, for example, say, oh, well, we're off now, so everything can go away now, we'll just go back to our old bad habits. So, which sounds lighthearted, but they have a legitimate point. The second thing that they're coming to assess is there high-level political commitment to continue the effort? Meaning, I think they understand, and again, this is not unique to Cayman, this is part of the process for all of the countries, is that the civil service can only take it but so far. The country requires political will to ensure that appropriate legislation within the context of the jurisdiction will continue and be sustained. I think out of the process, this was probably the silver lining, because having people come to Cayman, which I've experienced as a private sector lawyer, if there was ever a client that was deciding whether or not the international business would be in Cayman or someplace else, has always been convinced once they've seen Cayman. So I was fairly confident, I think the Attorney General was fairly confident, that once the assessors, I think the majority of which had never even been to Cayman, once you've seen the country, it would have a lasting and positive impression on them.
Minister, I'm going to interrupt you there just for us to take a commercial break. Sorry for the interruption, but I thought that would be a good point, to interrupt you. We're going to come right back as soon as we finish this short commercial break. Please stay tuned.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
Are you feeling sick but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy-to-understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough and sore throat to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the people's station. Your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have on the phone line with me Minister Andre Ebanks. He's been detailing the steps that resulted in the Cayman Islands being removed from the FATF's grey list. Minister Ebanks, you mentioned about the issue of beneficial ownership. And during the course of your discussion, can you also indicate where are we as far as the United Kingdom is concerned and the order in council that they had waiting in the event that we did not enact the legislation that we were expected to when we said that the Cayman Islands would be prepared to do so when the rest of the jurisdictions decided to do so as well. If you could tell us during the course of your discussions where we're at now with the United Kingdom and that potential order in council.
Excellent question. And there is faithfully a natural segue between that question and the on-site visit.
Okay.
So the assessors came, 2 days of meetings. Part of showing them that our efforts are going to be sustained is that they arrived on the 31st of August. On the 30th of August, Cabinet approved the new Beneficial Ownership Transparency Bill. Mm-hmm. Now, that bill takes into account where we see the FATF standards are moving for the fifth round, which starts in 2025, and we estimate that Cayman would be assessed again by 2026. A small portion of that bill, so that's a large portion of that bill, is to consolidate our beneficial ownership rules, which are spread out through entity legislation now. It's between companies, partnerships, limited liability companies. It evolved over time and being placed in each of the entities' legislation, but it was now time to streamline all those rules into one bill, so you only have to look in one place. Add where we can perceive and anticipate that the FATF standards are going to be going, so we're proactive going into the fifth round than having to adjust in the middle of the fifth round, and has a small portion that tries to make an attempt towards public access in line with what we see as recent judicial developments. I'll come on to that in a second.
Sure.
But returning to the on-site visit, that was one of the proof points. In addition to that, we had other updates in terms of money laundering investigations that the police were still conducting beyond the cases that satisfied the action list, and the Monetary Authority had to give an update on its beneficial ownership, collection, and enforcement. I think having those assessors, individuals, see the country, see our infrastructure, see our public agencies' knowledge and sophistication, and also they interview a group of the private sector to the exclusion of government. So none of us were in the room.
Okay.
And be able for our private sector members to make their points intelligently, what I'm told, from both sides, because I heard from the private sector crew as well as the assessment team afterwards, with such knowledge, sophistication. I think they came away with a extremely positive impression of the Cayman Islands as not a jurisdiction that is somehow making things up on the fly, but as a very well-regulated country. That was, the proof was in the pudding, because fast forward now from the end of August, beginning of September, to the plenary on the 27th of October, we saw the on-site group deliver their on-site visit findings and also the full report on the 3 action items.
Okay.
And the proof is there for all to see. The FVTF plenary accepted the findings. No objections were raised, and we were removed from the gray list.
Okay. How much of that information is public information that if people have an interest, that they can actually go and look at those reports to the plenary?
So I don't know that the actual specific assessment team's report on each country is public. I think that remains confidential.
Okay.
But the FATF's website would certainly give a general report of the list, who was removed, who has to stay, which they do for every plenary, and who is still on the high risk, which is the blacklist, which we were never on. But it would certainly give an overview. In terms of what I could say, though, of the takeaways and the lessons that we learned, is one, I think, and the Attorney General and I have talked about this, is to be more involved and present in the FATF proceedings, because the plenary is not just determining which countries are coming on and off gray list and blacklist. They're also promulgating rules for the next round. So it's to have an officer there that can listen and participate of where the rules are headed, so that we continue on a much more proactive approach of developing our legislative reforms in time rather than doing them in the middle of an assessment.
Okay. Minister, I'm going to interrupt you there again, and so that we can go to a commercial break. I know it's pretty quick in between, but we ran over on the first one. But while you're on that, when we return, one of our listeners sent a WhatsApp message in relation to the Brussels office and the opening of that office, and whether or not that question in any way has connects now with your ability to have someone on the ground so that we can be proactive rather than reactive. Folks, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we return, the conversation with Minister Andre Ebanks will continue. Very important. Don't change that dial. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you heard the news? Digicel is back with exciting offers that are too good to resist. Activate one of our brand new prepaid or postpaid plans today and experience telecommunications like never before. With more data, dedicated entertainment options like Netflix, YouTube, Spotify, and endless social text data for all your favorite platforms. Digicel is here to make sure you stay connected and entertained. Whether you are on a prepaid or postpaid, you will also enjoy dedicated roaming data for the USA, Canada, and the Caribbean. It's all about value, and Digicel has got you covered.
Water Authority Cayman would like to advise its valued customers that its offices in both Grand Cayman and Cayman Brac will be closed on Friday the 10th of November for a staff function and will reopen on Tuesday the 14th of November following the Remembrance Day holiday. Cayman Brac customers are encouraged to plan ahead and make truck water orders in advance. There will be limited truck water deliveries on Friday the 10th of November, Saturday the 11th of November, and Monday the 13th of November. Truck water orders received by the end of business day on Thursday the 9th of November but are not delivered on Friday the 10th of November will be carried over to Saturday the 11th of November or Monday the 13th of November. Only truck water orders that meet the authority's emergency criteria will be accepted for delivery on the following dates and will incur an emergency fee. Friday the 10th of November, Saturday the 11th, Sunday and Monday the 12th and 13th of November. The Water Authority apologizes for any inconvenience this may cause and thanks the public for your patience and understanding.
Cayman Islands, clear your calendars because something extraordinary is coming your way. Ignite the Fire, hosted by Christ for All Nations, is roaring into the Lions Center from November 29th to December 3rd. Join us for an epic worship and gospel event, a monumental move of God that will transform lives and reveal destinies. Don't miss this 5-night, once-in-a-generation experience. Be a part of history in the making. Ignite the Fire, Cayman. Mark your date. November 29th to December 3rd at 6:30 p.m. nightly, and get ready for an unforgettable spiritual journey that will set your heart ablaze. Cayman and you will never be the same again.
The new KFC nuggets have arrived. That unlike the no-gets. Ours are handmade using 100% white meat, unlike the no-gets. At KFC, we hand-bread every day to achieve the perfect flavor. After you try our delicious and crispy nuggets in the original recipe, you'll never settle for less. KFC, the real nuggets. It's finger-licking good.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matter. For the record, with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have on the phone with me Honorable Andre Ebanks, Minister for Financial Services and Commerce. And Minister, we hope and we trust that those commercial breaks give you an opportunity to put a little bit of liquid down your throat as well to ease that aching there.
Sipping on some honey and lime.
Good. That's a good combination. Great combination.
So I have a note of two questions, the beneficial ownership bill and a representation in Brussels.
Yes, sir.
I'll come on to those in a minute, but I'm just letting you know I have a note of those. And I'm just going to wrap up and I think the Attorney General's takeaways from the gray list. One, the proactive approach. Two, and having an officer and being more involved in the process, because the value proposition of a minister now traveling to the plenary loses itself, because I'm not sure the public will get value from money now that it's not at a high political level. It is there for a more policy officer to absorb where the standards are moving towards, if I could put it that way. It may still be that I may travel maybe to it once for a year just to continue to have engagement and build it around other engagements, such as Brussels, which is what I did in that plenary week, was doing sessions of the FATF plenary in which I knew the Attorney General was there. Can't think of a better person to still remain in Paris and monitor the plenary. And then I went to Brussels to engage with EU parliamentarians and EU officials to maintain a grasp of where the EU's tax standards are moving towards. And they're in the remit of, they're also looking at beneficial ownership. So there will still be some value to that, but I do think an officer there monitoring the standards as they move forward would be of value to us. And I also think we'll have to ensure that we work in partnership with our fellow folks in the countries in the region and share more with each other, because we're all going to be in this together. And how we can help each other. So we've been on this gray list before. If you end up on it or still on it, what are the takeaways? So we sort of shared with Barbados that they're now getting their on-site inspection in the coming months. This is how we approach the on-site inspection, so the on-site visit, so that we're sharing with each other, because we're all in this together in the Caribbean.
So true.
So moving now to maybe a couple of those specific questions. I outlined earlier, but maybe for folks who weren't listening, the Beneficial Ownership Transparency Bill, which is published now, does three things, but two are the largest part of the bill. Streamlining the beneficial ownership rules into one act, and then two, the ministry and the policy team anticipate the FATF rules around or standards around beneficial ownership will move in the fifth round in 2025, where we may be assessed again in 2026. There's a small portion of the bill, I think it's Clause 22, that deals with whether or not there can be regulations that not only have to be approved by Cabinet, but by affirmative resolution in the House, of form of access to data that would be made public to certain parties. The reason that there isn't a wider provision for full public access, accessible registers, is because there was a judgment in the European Court of Justice in November 2022, which struck down full beneficial public accessible registers. The reason that gave not just Cayman, but I think a number of the other overseas territories and the Crown dependencies pause is because our Constitution is similarly arranged as the European Convention on Human Rights. Therefore, it follows that if we were to introduce, I think in the European justice case was Luxembourg, was to introduce a similar piece of legislation, the government could be challenged as to whether or not that legislation of full public accessible registers is compatible with the Bill of Human Rights. So in the face of that, and we've taken UK legal counsel, eminent legal counsel, we've gone constitutional counsel, we've gone back to the UK and say, there's been a material change in circumstance since the 2019 commitment, which always had a caveat that this would be in line with evolving international standards. And at the time, it did look as though the world was heading that way. This and what's happening in other major countries, you can see from the FATF standards that the FATF standards have not evolved to public accessible registers. So we've said to the UK, we have to, within the confines of the Constitution, which is a UK statutory instrument, have to assess what is the best way forward. So we're in discussions with the UK to maybe go along the lines, and that's why that small clause 22 is there, because what the European Court of Justice decision essentially says is that maybe there are certain parties, for certain legitimate reasons, that may have access, but there would have to be safeguards around that. So we've at least said to the UK, we're not the type of country that doesn't hold our word. So as you can see, we've taken a step forward, but we also have to do this while respecting our Constitution, and we need some time to consider this.
Makes a whole lot of sense, and That was really a clear explanation, of that. Really appreciate that, Minister.
And then to the question in relation to Brussels, I've said this, I think, in one of the meetings of the House, is I have a bit of experience with this because that was my prior post, representative to the UK and the EU. The representative post to the UK is a fairly large job because each country in which you establish an office is different depending on the composition of that country and what our interests are. In the UK, there's a heavy connection to the Cayman community that is in the UK, not just in London, but in the wider UK. So I think you had called it many, many moons ago when I had the job, the 20th constituency. if you remember that.
Yes.
So there's a large body of work that the representative has to do in a variety of areas of culture, students, just Caymanians who are working and keeping it together. And then on top of that, to keep up with financial services as well, which is a very heavy topic. I've said before, perhaps I wasn't the best example of a rep because I naturally had that background. So what I've discussed with the chief officer is I do think we need to launch someone who's specifically focused, who can help flank Dr. Tasha on financial services so she can continue with the heavy yards of just servicing the office for all the other purposes, consular services, cultural services, student services, and have someone there who's specifically on financial services who is stationed in London and then travels proactively to Brussels to stay abreast. The reason for that is because a number of our Cayman Islands firms have offices in London, not in Brussels. And they, too, want updates of what's happening at headquarters so that they can service their clients, as will be the case in Singapore with Mr. Jean DaCosta. There are Cayman Islands firms that have offices in Singapore, and they want updates in real time, too. So because Brussels is but a 2-hour train ride away, I think we have the opportunity to conserve the country's budget by not having an entire new physical office in Brussels.
Okay.
We already have an existing office in London and have an officer dedicated to financial services that transits into Brussels when appropriate, and then also servicing the financial services community in London.
Makes sense.
So our hope is I hope in the upcoming meeting of Parliament in relation to the 24-25 budget to have a more definitive timeline of when that officer will be in place.
Okay, sounds great. While we have this pause, we're going to take our last commercial break. Minister, this was a press release just put out this morning. I don't know if you want to speak to this, but I see here where the Merchant Shipping Bill 2023 to modernize Cayman's maritime sector is out as well. Don't know if you want to talk to that, but you will certainly have that opportunity as soon as we return from this commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Brand Source Home Gallery 54th birthday celebration with store-wide savings. Save on appliances, faucets, tubs, toilets, shower doors, vanities, kitchen cabinets, custom closets, and more. Starting Monday, November 6th, save 30%. Monday, November 13th, the savings will drop to 20%. And Monday, November 20th, they will drop to 10%. It pays to shop early and save more. Brand Source Home Gallery 54th birthday celebration savings on now through November 25th. Dorsey Drive Industrial Park. Call 623-5000 for more details.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Rotary Central Music Extravaganza tickets are red hot and moving. Somebody's going to win, and why not you? Get your tickets now through Rotary Central members, Rotary Central ticket sellers, online at eventpro.ky, A.L. Thompson's Home Depot, Funky Tangs on Shedden Road, Rotarian Annie Rose Scott next to Rubis in West End, Cayman Brack. Grand prize $40,000, second prize $4,000, and 6 $1,000 prizes. Event day is Saturday, November 25th at Salty's in Grand Harbor, Red Bay. Your $25 ticket can win Rotary Central Music Extravaganza, a major fundraiser taking care of community projects by Rotary Central. Rotary Central, NPO number 232, creating hope in Cayman and the world.
For the record with Orrett Connor.
Initiating system.
For information that matters. For the record with Orrett Connor. Continues right now on Radio Cayman.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. On the line with us, we have Minister Andre Ebanks, and we're extremely appreciative of the minister, while being under the weather, still agreeing to this interview by phone, also taking into consideration the health of the people here in the studio as well. Minister, so far you're doing well, and I hope those breaks have allowed you to sip that honey and lime and honey. And if you were a drinker, or you don't necessarily have to be one, some people would recommend a little bit of white rum in that as well.
Happy to say publicly, I did that once. I don't dispute that perhaps it works for other people.
Uh-huh.
It didn't work for me. I ended up with a stomachache, a headache, and still had the cold.
Okay, understood.
But different strokes, different folks. When we were departing for the commercial break, I see that you picked up the press release for the Merchant Shipping Bill 2023.
Yes, sir.
I promise you, I didn't plan it this way. The way in which this was supposed to fall is that the bill would be published and the press release would have been Friday morning.
Uh-huh.
But it didn't happen that way, and it happened that the press release was issued today. So, yes, there is further news. It wasn't planned this way. It would have been a little bit last week. But yes, we have a bill to modernize the international maritime framework. And before I touch on just a bit of what that bill does, I want to make some overarching comments that while we are doing very well in terms of enhancing our compliance framework, what we've been trying to do during this administration is also enhance the commercial framework. So the practitioners have a bit of balance that, yes, they have to adjust to evolving international standards, but also give them either enhanced or new products to be able to position ourselves for greater and sound business. So this is one of a few that Lord willing, will come to fruition. The Merchant Shipping Bill 2023 updates our international maritime framework and will replace the current merchant shipping legislation. The legislation was primarily based on the UK's Act and was brought in a while ago, but hasn't had any more than, say, some minor or administrative updates to date. This now brings it well forward into this decade and should be able to assist our maritime authority in being able to have, one, stronger regulation, because they do incredible work. I probably should pause here to say, for both the civil aviation, which is headed by Mr. Richard Smith, and the Maritime Authority that's headed by CEO Joel Walton, two Caymanians, are sometimes, in my view, underestimated authorities of what they do in terms of promoting the country.
And unappreciated at times, too, yes.
Both persons are extremely bright, have incredible contacts in their field in promoting Cayman. The Maritime Authority has 60, not 16, 60% of yacht registrations around the world are at our Maritime Authority in the Cayman Islands. Wow. And our shipping registry has turned 120 years old this year.
Wow.
So where I think the CEO, Joel Walton, and I have a shared vision is that because we have such a rich seafaring history, although this has now grown into international business, we see this as honoring that seafaring history and continuing that it's part of our financial services products. So this should hopefully be able to modernize, keep the standards going, because they're also not just doing registrations of yachts. They have inspectors, and they keep up with the actual ships that are registered in Cayman. And flying that Cayman flag with all these ships around the world is just remarkable promotion in and of itself. So we hope that this is a tool that helps to be another feather in their cap, that they can continue to promote the jurisdiction. Further afield, we'd like to have, switching subjects for a second, enhancements of our Companies Act, so that there is greater flexibility with certain provisions to get practitioners excited and promoting that act. Also, the Exempted Limited Partnership Act, which is used in the private equity fund space. We have some enhancements that will hopefully come to fruition in the coming months to enhance that product and give those practitioners more to do. There are some pieces of legislation that will enhance the area of trust to keep those practitioners excited and have another feather in their cap to promote the jurisdiction, because I firmly believe, and I think the administration firmly believes, that we have to have that complement between commercial and compliance so that we can continue, again, to promote and retain and enhance sound business, but also have a strong compliance framework.
Again, sounds pretty great. We still have about 8 minutes to go in the show, Minister. We want to reserve some of that time for you for some closing comments. But anything else that you want to talk about while you have the mic, please go right ahead.
Well, thank you, sir. I'll touch on maybe switch ministries for a couple of minutes, and then I'll have closing comments on financial services and commerce.
Okay.
The Ministry of Investment, Innovation, and Social Development, were on with my cousin Dwayne, I think maybe now 2 weeks ago, for Talk Today to discuss the new financial assistance framework that will replace the Poor Persons Relief Act.
Right. I think Mr. Roberts was on with you there as well. Yes.
He was on, and the Deputy Director, Melissa Smith, of the Needs Assessment Unit. We have completed our town hall presentations in each district, and we also did one virtually. The update that I'm giving is that we've gotten some very good feedback, even not just from clients and potential applicants, but also from MPs, and we're going to continue to take stock of that, not necessarily have to rush to commence it, to be sure that what comes out, and this is the vision of it, is a system that is trusted and that we can be proud of and gives maximum opportunity for those who are able to work to have a chance to enter the formal economy. So we're going to take all of the feedback that we received, see if there are any other enhancements and policies and procedures that need to be incorporated, and any other technological points, because now, guess what? The staff have seen, because we're making some updates to the actual database, that has been rolled out to staff training, and they have had comments and say, Minister, I hear you, and if you go out with this, but really, this would make my life easier if you can incorporate a couple other features.
Okay.
Now, that might be for the e-government team and CSD, they have to take a step back and say, Minister, we can do this. It won't be perfect day one, but at the same time, if it allows us a bit more time to incorporate it, it can make the employee's life easier. That in turn makes the client's life easier. So let's see what else we can incorporate before we go to full commencement. And that way what goes out is a much more polished and finished product that takes on staff feedback, but also importantly, public feedback.
Okay.
And on the innovation side, I think I gave a speech earlier, I think middle of last week, to the Cayman Islands Marketing Professionals Association. I think that was Friday, actually. They had a speech on the impact of artificial intelligence with some very good probing questions. So this would be wearing the innovation hat of this is moving very rapidly. If you look at the news around the world, how will it impact jobs? Does there need to be a policy and governance framework around this? There is some concern about how this will impact society. I was reading an article where the UN Secretary General also had similar comments, because I don't want to get overly technical on the phone, but now that a lot of our computer programming and news and entertainment is set by algorithms, can those algorithms be set in a way that then continue to perpetuate a bias, say a gender bias or a racial bias?
Yes.
So we have to be sure that there's some policy guardrails around it. So I mentioned to that team that yes, it is a concern, but it's also an opportunity in artificial intelligence. That if we now as a country are seeing this now transpire around the world, we'll have to ensure that, one, we're educating not just our workforce, but our students in this, so that maybe the job of the future is not what exists now, but is another job that's even more meaningful, even more lucrative, because you're now not just sort of crunching data, the computer's doing that, you're now becoming an analyst of that data. So that sort of is a tie-in to the new Department of Financial Assistance and why some of the employees said, look, I can spend my time sort of punching the data and the paperwork that comes in, but it's more useful for the time, Minister, if the technology is taking care of that, and I can now focus more and doing it in a much rapid way than can be done by human hand. But now I haven't lost my job. Now I can more focus on that person's individual needs and potentially matching them with an employer in the private sector so that they can then enter the formal economy. So in other words, in a nutshell of saying that, the jobs of the future might allow you more freedom to do deeper portions of work than you do now that may be consumed by sort of the bureaucracy of it.
Okay, yep. Still have about 2 minutes for you to wrap up, or any final comments, Minister?
The final comment, to return to the topic of the main portion of the show, is again, thank the Lord for seeing the Cayman Islands work between the public sector and the private sector for the removal of the gray list. It means a lot for the country's reputation. It means a lot to practitioners. It can have the effect of boosting the country's revenue and keeping us attractive. That revenue, in turn, can be utilized for projects at home, whether it's in education, healthcare, social development. So it's not just a financial services victory. It's a victory for the country at whole. I'm forever grateful for the excellent partnership with the Honorable Attorney General, who's been steeped in these matters for many, many years. His counsel throughout the entire process was invaluable. Thank the private sector for their patience and perseverance, and the same goes for the public sector. It'll be hard to describe to anybody else who's not in these rooms of what it means to suit up, put your lapel pin on, your coat of arms, and promote and advocate for your country to the best of your abilities and intelligence. And I thank them all for doing that with patience, with prudence, and with coordination. And that is probably the largest other takeaway going into the fifth round of assessments. I think we are far more coordinated and linked as a team than maybe we were from the outset. So I couldn't thank them enough from the bottom of my heart.
And the Monetary Authority, the role that they played?
They're one of the
public,
I would include in the public agencies. I didn't want to name one. There's a whole list, but the Monetary Authority knows where my heart is, as do all the other agencies.
One question, and this may take us over a little bit, with the talking about the 3 additional conditions that we needed to meet, and one had to do with the prosecutions. Is it possible that any person who was prosecuted could use as a basis for their appeal the fact that, well, the Cayman Islands were pressured to prosecute my case because they needed to comply with FATF instructions?
I would find that a very unlikely. So this goes back to, if you remember when we were going over this third point of where I said it's in that respect outside of the Attorney General and I's hands, and that we cannot call a judge to say we need this. You may dream about it, but we would never do that. So you have to allow the police to do their work. It takes time to gather evidence, exchange it with countries around the world. It then takes time for the prosecutor to really study the case and then determine, do I have a case that is persuasive to a jury to the standard of beyond a reasonable doubt? So you have that. So you have a jury of your peers. We, Attorney General, and I certainly didn't call them and say we're on the gray list jury and come back. And then on top of that, you have to have a judicial mind, a trained judge to look at that and then deliver a sentence. That, I think, would be a tall order for someone to argue, in my view.
I just thought of that, and I figured, let me ask it, because I'm sure that there's some people out there with that thought as well. Minister, want to thank you very much. We wish you a speedy recovery, and we look forward to more dialogue with you as you go about making the important changes that are needed to continue to make the Cayman Islands a competitive jurisdiction, as well as a jurisdiction that is extremely attractive to those persons who want to do business here.
And if you could give me 30 seconds to say to you, I did want to keep our appointment, and as I said from the outset, not put off to tomorrow what could be done today. But I don't feel right. I don't feel right not being able to look at you. I don't feel right not being able to embrace you when I walk in and embrace you when I leave. So if we can help it, I don't want to do this again. I want to see you.
Certainly, Minister. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, and to the listening public, God bless all, and God bless the Cayman Islands.
Thank you again, Minister. Folks, I want to thank all of you who have participated. That was Minister Andre Ebanks. Well-presented telephone discussion, and his explanation made it, quite, you could visualize exactly, what he was talking about as well. So, folks, have a great day. Remember, we are our brothers and our sisters' keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are. I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or those who crave. Have a great day, and as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these 3 beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Coca-Cola, available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga distributors. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury. And JN Money. From abroad to yard. Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And now, Barbados. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network.
You are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice